The accreditation is the result of 2 years of intense documentation of the division's work, resulting not only in these manuals, but in an end product that meets stringent requirements. The award follows a searching 3-day assessment by a team of 4 auditors from Standards Australia. It is an endorsement not only of the effective management systems, but also quality control. Today, the award was handed over by Owen Archer of Standards Australia to Division Manager Noel Cornish. It's an achievement that also incorporates international standards.
Well, we intend to continue to grow our market, both in Australia and overseas, and achieving this accreditation will be a great benefit, not only to getting more customers locally, but also into gaining a larger share of the international market.
The issue of mine subsidence under residential areas has been an emotive one in past years, as Minister for Minerals and Energy Neil Pickard has had to walk the fine line of supporting the coal mining industry without alienating the public. Although he still has many critics, Mr Pickard believes he's made great gains this year, one of the more important to finally come into action just before Christmas. On Friday, new legislation covering the Mine Subsidence Board will be gazetted, giving the board far greater scope to assess subsidence cases and recommend compensation. The legislation also allows for a far wider range of materials which can be used in houses built over mining.
Many blocks of land, thousands, will be able to be released for the building of good quality homes as the people desire them.
Mr Pickard was in Newcastle to speak at the Mine Subsidence Board's annual Christmas lunch. The board hasn't been the most popular face of government in the past. Neil Pickard says it's been maligned not through its own fault, but because its officers haven't had the power to properly help people. He admits it won't change its image overnight.
It'll take time till everybody gets to know about it, but when they do, I'm sure they're going to appreciate that there's a new board, a new attitude and new possibilities, and I think greater compensations for the people.
The threat of no redundancy packages emerged when the State Electricity Commission officials announced the laboratories and training staff would be moved to the Newcombe Colliery near Eraring Power Station over the next 2 years. Up to 150 employees working in Sydney will be offered the move. Leaks from within the Commission have warned of no redundancy packages for those employees who refuse to move or cannot find positions in other departments. State opposition spokesman for Minerals and Energy, Pat Rogan, said he was upset over the timing of the announcement, causing an air of uncertainty on Elcom families at Christmas. Mr Rogan says the changes have also proceeded without any union consultation, when plans for the relocation would have begun at least 6 months ago. Elcom has also announced a Brisbane-based company has won the contract to study the government's privatisation plan for 6 Hunter Valley coal mines. It's expected the study will begin early next year. Darren Curtis for NBN News.
Just 2 months ago, the Grain Handling Authority became a company, Grain Corp, a part of the state government's New South Wales Incorporated move to get public departments running like private businesses. Wheat tonnages are expected to reach 500,000 tonnes this season. That is 1/3 of last year's haul. And according to management, simple economics says jobs must go.
It's part of the rationalisation of government enterprises to make them profit sensitive and profit generating.
In 1987, jobs were cut from 180 workers to 91. The new retrenchments brings that number to 55.
We're certainly not in a bed of roses at this moment.
The Waterside Workers Union and Grain Corp spent 6 months negotiating the details of the redundancies.
We would have liked to have been able to say that we can guarantee for the whole labour force to remain in the Grain Corp. But unfortunately, because of the down drop in the harvests and the tonnage going through the port in relation to grain terminal operations, we haven't been able to achieve that.
What the union has been able to achieve is a package for the redundant workers. The remaining workers will be trained in multi-skilling and offered advancement on ability rather than years of service. And for farmers, GrainCorp says new levels of productivity will mean price reductions for grain handling. Peter Ryan, NBN News.
Stretching from the Hexham floodgates to Minmay Road Wall's End, the waterways offer an alternative way for visitors to explore the wetlands. The canoe trails have been open for 3 years, but today the Wetlands Centre launched a new scheme which it hopes will enhance the many wonders the wetlands have to offer. From today, visitors can take a guided tour of the waterways.
They'll officially open and invite you all to come for a spin.
Although the Lord Mayor sounded confident when the time came to board the canoe, he wasn't so brave. But the pre-ride wobbles quickly disappeared, and from then on it was smooth sailing. The waterways stretch for 8 kilometres and there is a diversity of wildlife and flora to see. The tours can take from 20 minutes to all day, and with the quiet, tranquil setting, it is the best way to see the prolific bird life which the wetlands is home to. Just as the smaller entertainment centre plan was due to go before Newcastle City Council, Mr Marizecki unveiled his own plans for a 10,000-seat complex. These have been in the making for several years. Backers are a consortium including Concrete Constructions, Fleet Capital Merchant Bankers and Mr Marizecki. Now the development application can go before Council. If approved, the construction is subject to a lease being granted by the Newcastle International Sports Centre Trust and the New South Wales Government. The consortium intends to approach private enterprise, the community and governments for funding of the complex.
The Brisbane-bound Trans-City coach collided head-on with a packed McCafferty's coach heading to Sydney on a slight bend of the highway just north of Kempsey. Police, ambulance and rescue crews from Kempsey and Port Macquarie as well as surrounding towns were called to the scene at about 3:30 this morning. Within minutes they'd set up a field hospital and the crash site was quickly flanked by rows of bodies as rescue workers cut into the fused wreckage. 34 people have died either at the scene or shortly later. Another 41 are injured. It's not known if the Newcastle passengers are on that list. At least 3 of the survivors are now being airlifted to Royal North Shore Hospital in Sydney suffering serious injuries. Both the State Transport Minister Bruce Baird and Police Minister Ted Pickering are on the scene. Police are appealing for holiday traffic to avoid the mid-north coast section of the Pacific Highway and take the Great Western Highway instead. An NBN camera crew is still on the scene and will bring more reports in later bulletins.
The coal loader has gained world recognition for its engineering and performance. BHP today announced it has agreed in principle to sell off its 30% stake in the loader to Port Waratah Coal Services. Earlier this year, BHP sold its interest in Lower Hunter coal mines. A spokesman for BHP says the company is no longer interested in coal shipping through Newcastle and it's appropriate the loader be locally owned and operated. The sale of the BHP interest, if given the nod by shareholders, will now place the loader completely in the hands of coal producers of the Hunter Valley. Darren Curtis for NBN News.
On a normal Friday night, 5 or 6 motorists are caught over the .05 blood alcohol limit. In a special operation, police might catch 20 offenders, but last night 41 drivers were charged. Despite tough fines and the threat of licence disqualification, Christmas revellers are still drinking and driving.
When they join in the merriment of the Christmas festivities and they have a few drinks, they sort of throw caution to the wind and they take the risk.
17 patrol cars worked a 9-hour blitz from 10 to 7 this morning. Police were still charging people at 6:30 after a run of offences after 4 o'clock. 3 people had their licences suspended on the spot. The enforcement will continue tonight, and from police, a plea to people who want to drink and drive.
Please think of other people out there, because when you have a crash, it is other people who are involved in the trauma.
Meanwhile, police will continue Operation Safe Arrival through to the new year, with officers targeting reckless driving. Peter Ryan, NBN News.
Fiery Fred Stolle was just one of the sensational crop of boys from down under who dominated the world tennis circuit in the 60s. And if things had been a little different, Fred would undoubtedly have been considered one of the all-time greats. A winner of the US Open and numerous other crowns, he was also runner-up at Wimbledon on 3 separate occasions. Now Fred's son Sandon is trying to crack the pro ranks and is in Australia to improve his game and qualify for the Aussie Tour's major tournaments. And has Dad been a help in getting him started?
When I first started out, he wasn't, but as I started to do better and get a few tournaments in, and he started to encourage me a bit more and help me a bit more with my game.
Sandon plays college tennis in Fort Worth, Texas, and is honing his skills under the watchful eye of one of Dad's best mates, Tony Roach.
He hits the ball hard, he's tall, and he's got a big serve. And I saw Sandon play in the Canadian Open earlier this year, and he qualified there and actually had a handful of match points against Kelly Jones, and if he'd won that match he would have played Ivan, which would have been interesting. But yeah, he's got a good future in the game.
With a good showing in this year's Canadian Open and bright hopes for further success in Australia, there's every chance that Stolle will be up there with the best once again. And Sandon will be backed all the way by Father Fred.
He's been pretty good. He hasn't forced me into playing the game, which has been good, which I think is a big thing in tennis today, you know, parents not forcing their kids to go into the game.
Rita Bailey was one of 95,000 shoppers at Garden City who entered a draw to win a 1971 silver Rolls-Royce. Each day since September 11, a name was taken from the draw, and last night, 89 nervous finalists were wined and dined for a little taste of luxury. Santa Claus was on hand to give each player a key, and tentatively they tried to unlock $65,000 worth of Christmas present. Rita Bailey had the 39th key. When the door was unlocked, Rita hadn't realised her good fortune, but it wasn't long after a little help from the audience that the news set in. And for the special key that opened the roller, a special key ring, $6,000 worth of glittering diamonds. Settling into her new prize, Rita has already been given an offer to buy the car, but she says for the time being, she wants to keep it.
Nearly every weekend somewhere in the valley you will find a social cricket match in progress, with dress regulations wavered in favour of a good time. Well, what was so different in the match between Gloucester and Strait at the SCG today? Not much, except that the entire Gloucester team comprised members of the one family, the Edwards clan. Not only did they supply the entire 11 for the visitors, 3 Edwards family members filled in for absent Stradlians. Headed by 61-year-old Alan Edwards, a self-confessed cricket nut, the action was interesting to follow. As Edwards approaches the wicket now, bowls to Edwards, who cracks the ball to mid-on where young Edwards did well to get a hand to it. The batsman crossed for 2 as Edwards picks up now and returns to Edwards. And scorer Edwards adds another couple to the score sheet. Now the wicket-keeper, in vogue with the finer points of the game, wasn't too happy how young Edwards hit that shot and offered some free advice. Matriarch Allen introduced himself into the attack, but the Edwards clan had their eyes in and another boundary was scored, appreciated by the huge gallery on hand, mainly folk from the Edwards household. If this action at Stroud was any indication of what tomorrow's family party will be like, then it's sure to be a great day enjoyed by all. Dennis Dalton will represent Australia in the Lawn Bowls Fours team and is engaged by the East Maitland Club as a bowls advisor. Dennis hails from Victoria and has now made the Hunter his home. But he's a little sad that he will be away from past friends and family in Victoria for the first time at Christmas.
It's a little bit strange because, as you said, this is the first time we've been away, and it'll probably be very, very quiet tomorrow after having just ourselves, and we're used to probably 70 or 80 people around us.
Greg Hayman had the day off from training and won't be doing too much weightlifting tomorrow either. Greg will be out to retain his 52-kilogram gold medal he won in Edinburgh in 1986 and is thankful of the support that he's received from the people of Newcastle.
It's really good to see that Newcastle and the Hunter can be behind someone as much as they have, and I hope I can do them proud.
Got a Christmas message for anyone?
Yes, Merry Christmas to everyone and friends and family and anyone that's been behind me over the years, and stay safe.
Craig Chapman is taking his bike to Auckland as a member of the Rhodes team, and today he kept up his hectic training schedule with a little 150-kilometre ride. Giving himself the luxury of tomorrow off, he has high aspirations for the Games.
I just hope to do well when I go away. It's been pretty hard, but a lot of people behind you in Newcastle, and it's good to have that support when you come home.
Like to wish them a Merry Christmas?
Yeah, I'd like to wish everyone in Newcastle who's looked after me a Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year.
Donna Proctor swam her way into the Games team by winning a brilliant final of the 400 metres individual medley at the trials in Adelaide. Today it was in the pool as usual for about an hour.
Oh, I get Christmas Day off, except or I'm home here for 4 days before I go back to Canberra, and I've still got to train twice a day.
And Donna also wanted to say thanks.
I'd just like to wish everyone a Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year, and thanks for all the support that everyone's given me.
Wiltshire was in great touch as he scored a perfect 15 points from 5 starts to clinch the title. Wiltshire impressed the large crowd with a display showing all the trademarks and experience that won him a number of top-class events throughout Europe earlier this year. Former English rider Sean Wilmot also rode well to finish up on 13 points from 3 wins and 2 seconds. Wilmot broke the frame of his bike in the first lap of the third heat and gamely held on to take the checkered flag. He later changed to his reserve bike for the final 2 heats and did well to record 2 seconds. Cessnock's Chris Watson also flew the flag for the locals, but missed out on a certain chance to claim a second placing when he fell in the final heat. The speedway action continues tomorrow night with the super sedans, motocross and a stunt show. First Light this morning gave rescuers their first chance to take stock and prepare themselves for the job ahead at the Workers' Club. 32 cars were in the ground level parking lot when the top floors fell and compacted upon each other. Most of the vehicles were recovered today, but 6 people believed to be at the club remain unaccounted for. This afternoon, staff from the Workers' Club met for the first time since the quake. They gathered at the Western Suburbs Leagues Club. Although more than 24 hours since the quake, many still look shell-shocked. It's believed one club worker died in the collapse, while another still remains unaccounted for. Club Secretary-Manager Wayne Dean had nothing but praise for his staff today.
The staff worked very, very hard to get people out of the club quickly and safely, and they did an excellent job. They repeatedly came back into the club and got people out that were in difficulties. And many of our staff were more than brave, I believe.
At BHP, operations have returned to normal after spectacular scenes yesterday when the coke ovens were opened to the atmosphere during a power failure. The Newcastle city centre still remains sealed off tonight due to a large number of unstable buildings. It's still unclear when workers may return to their jobs. At the junction and the Junction Motor Lodge remains closed after the quake completely shifted the motel. Nobody was injured as the motel shook, and engineers are still uncertain whether the lodge will have to be demolished or can be safely rebuilt. Across the road and the War Memorial fell to the ground, shattering into many tiny pieces. Premier Nick Greiner today toured the worst affected areas of Newcastle and was devastated after visiting the rescue scene at the Workers' Club. Late this afternoon, Lord Mayor John McNaughton launched a relief fund for those unable to provide food, clothing and shelter for themselves. Local companies have been quick to get behind the fund. BHP has promised $250,000, which was immediately matched by a federal government grant. St George Building Society has pledged $50,000, American Express $25,000, Washington H. Sol Pattinson and NBN have each donated $10,000. The appeal has been opened nationally to all Australians to help out. Only a few moments ago, giant traxcavators began clawing and ripping at the roof of the auditorium to make the area safe for rescue workers and open up more areas to be explored for casualties.
Well, we did think that we would be able to get it open by next Tuesday, but because of some of our high-rise buildings that have got they're obviously badly damaged, that's a matter of conjecture as to whether we'll be able to open it up by Tuesday. What we were looking to do was to open it bit by bit as the areas are made safe. We've been getting some problems with sightseers coming into town, and another problem is that there's been some advertisement that for people to come in and clear out their shops. What we're looking for is the owners of premises to come in firstly to let the engineers into their shops to have a look at them, to assess the damage. And the other one, of course, is to quickly get out essential stuff or essential property that those people want. As time goes on, the longer it goes, the worse it gets, and it could become more dangerous as the days go by. So that's what we're looking to do, is to get them to come see us and then approach their buildings sensibly and take their gear out as quickly as possible.